Testing, testing. There we go. Sounds like we're live now. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. We know everyone is busy, have lots going on. We sure do appreciate you coming in. We try to kind of bring this together with in conjunction with conference night to save you one trip coming up here in one night, and knowing that you probably have 100 other things that you need to get done tonight. So thanks for taking the time. We hope to give you all the information you need. If there's any questions that you have, certainly give us a call. Have your student come in and meet with us. That's kind of going to be one of the big messages tonight, is going to be that meeting that the student has with their counselor is key, because we can answer all the questions there that are unique to that student. So my name is Jim Addington. I'm one of the school counselors here. I work with students S through Z. So each of us have our own kind of part of the alphabet that we work with. We have a couple of our counselors that are out. I don't think they'd mind me saying this, on maternity leave. So both have little babies at home, little girls that are just adorable. So they're not going to be back until probably January. But we have some people filling in, and I'll talk about that in a slide here soon. That's been pretty seamless. And for anybody that has a senior, we have sent out over 1,000 applications so far through School Links, our new system we're using there. We replaced Naviance. Found out the School Links was much cheaper and actually a little more user friendly. So it was like win-win. You know, school's always looking for ways to save money, just like everybody is. And that seemed to be a good way to do it. So without any hiccups, we went over to that one, and that's how students here are going to also request that we send a transcript into whatever school that they decide to go to. So we'll talk about that in a moment as well. We have Tri-C and Akron here. So we have Jenny and Damien with us. We really appreciate them coming in. I think I need to plug Footloose. They have it covered up now. I don't know if you saw it earlier. We actually have an orchestra pit down here that usually is covered up. So pretty high tech here. So they're going to have live people playing the music for that. If you've never been to one of our productions here, it's amazing. It does not feel like a high school presentation, a play, a musical. It's just the amount of work that the students put in, and all the behind the scenes, all the students that are connected to it. It's just really amazing. So that is going to be on November 16th, 17th, and 18th. So I was watching them practice a little bit today, and I said pretty amazing. Tomorrow night, we have playoff football game here. So if you've not been up to that, be able to watch our football team and our band. Really amazing there as well. Just incredible to see how many students get involved in that, to stick around after the game and see about 500 or 600 students on the field, the players, the cheerleaders, the band, student section, everybody singing the alma mater is pretty unique. A lot of schools play the alma mater after the game. Few do it the way Highland does it. So if you get a chance to watch that, it's really pretty amazing to see that many students in the school spirit that we have here. So come and root on the band and the football team. Obviously, I can go through all the different sports, but we really had just an incredible fall sports with boys and girls sports. Pretty amazing. So check that out. I always want to thank the Highland Foundation. They don't have a lot to do with CCP directly, but they support us in so many ways with College Now and our seniors, and just a lot of the things that they do for our students here. So anytime I get a chance to thank them, I like to do that. And then to thank Mrs. Norman. We have a new secretary, Mrs. Gamoff retired. Mrs. Gamoff had been here for, I want to say 35 years, and retired to spend some more time with her grandkids and her kids. So we miss her, but Mrs. Norman has done just a tremendous job coming in and helping us stay on our toes. So I will get started on our presentation then. I'm going to go through kind of a Highlands procedure. Akron is going to do really the kind of the meat and potatoes of the presentation of what CCP is and some of the rules, laws governing it, that sort of thing. And then Tri-C will talk more specifically about Tri-C and how their procedures very similar, but a little different than Akron. and how we process things there. So this will be for the 24-25 school year. So when I was putting that in the um, presentation here, when I was updating, I was like, wow, 24-25, that's just hard to believe. But they're the counselors I was mentioning before. So Mrs. Rains is one of our counselors that I mentioned is enjoying her little daughter at home. We're hoping to get Mrs. Johnson back. With any of you that have older students that are off to college or wherever now, Mrs. Johnson has agreed. I think it's going to work out to come in and work with our students. It's about one of the best people that I know, but she's just going to work with students and student needs. We're not going to give her any of the assignments to do other than that. So I'll be happy to have her back. Mrs. Lakins is also going to be back in January, and Mrs. Pretty has come in and filled in for her just seamlessly. Very good counselor. Afraid she's going to get snatched up by another school before Highland can get her on staff, but she's really good. Mrs. Colbo is in the back there, helped out a lot with this, so thank you for that. Works with students M through R, and as I said, I'm Mr. Addington, S through Z, and there's Mrs. Norman. So anytime I get a chance, I like to remind parents, students to sign up for e-communication. We send home a lot of email blasts. This is where you sign up for it. It's on the main page of our website, thehighlandschools.org. You can check that you want to receive from the high school, just local schools in general, or the elementaries. So since my kids all went through Granger in the middle school and high school, and I can't quite figure out how to shut off those other ones, I get the announcements for all of them, which is fine. I still like seeing what they're doing at Granger Elementary and the middle school. So really encourage you to do that and check the box for the newsletter. We help. We have a little part that we do, actually Mrs. Cobo does, with Mrs. Knapp to give everybody kind of updates on what's going on in the schools. Students are at the Career Center, which is a great place to go to. They also look at our announcements, and they have their own announcements that they do, including Highlands. So we try to keep them as tied to Highland as close as we can. Maybe it takes a little bit of effort on their part to check for those announcements because they're not hearing them on the overhead speakers and stuff like that. But same information, we try to get to them as well. So deadlines are very important, not to miss these deadlines. We probably, to our fault, are incredibly lenient on deadlines. I think sometimes we are not helping students when they get into some places where places are not lenient on deadlines. But this is one where students really need to get the intent to participate and forms and everything need to be in. The state will say by April 1st, and it's true, but we're actually going to be on spring break then. So it's going to be March 28th is that last Friday. That intent to participate, which is the third page in that packet that you had available when you walked in. And if you need another one, we have them in the office. We have some more back there. But you are welcome to fill that out tonight. I encourage you to fill that out tonight. Turn it in to the table. We'll have a place there to collect those. That would not obligate you for CCP, but it keeps that option open. So to fill that out and turn that in is a good idea. That way we can follow up if we're not getting the rest of it in, or check in just to see if that's something that you still want to do. But if that paper is not turned in, it really gets kind of sticky for everybody, and being able to participate for that whole year, the whole next school year, 24-25. So it's not just for the first semester. That is an intent to participate for the whole year. If you're a returning CCP student, that's typically all they have to turn in is the intent to participate by that date. So we still need that every year. Even if you've been accepted, you're still going to the same school. Akron and Tri-C are the two most popular schools just because of the proximity. So that's why we have them here tonight as well. But those students still need to turn in this tonight. So thanks to Brian, everybody that is taping it and put together the behind the scenes. So that'll be on our website. Hopefully tomorrow, probably Monday at the latest, we'll get that up. So application deadlines are going to vary by school. I'll let Akron and Tri-C talk about that. Typically, it's after this date. This is ours because we need time to be able to put everything together and get it sent. It's a little misleading when we say we send transcripts because we send a lot more than that. So sometimes where we're taking a couple days to get stuff in, and parents will call and they say, would you send that transcript already? We're like, well, there's more to it than that. It's not just a transcript that we're sending. We absolutely could send the transcript immediately, but there are other documents, and we want to make sure that everything's getting sent properly. So that's why we asked for that to be in a little bit earlier. And then we're actually going to, through school links, have students request that. And I'll show that how to do that here at the end of my part. And then that's going to be we'll accept those in January. But Tri-C has asked us over the years, I don't think this will cause any problem with Akron. We're just going to send those all after that April 1st deadline, all the transcripts at once. It tends to kind of cause some issues for Tri-C. If we turn in a transcript before they apply, it kind of messes up their system a little bit because they don't know where to put that. And it's just kind of gets lost in cyberspace there. So we're going to ask that they apply first and then request their transcript, and then we'll send them all in at once. Try to keep it clean for everybody there. So we're going to say we want those students to meet with their counselor. And that is it's so important to get on the same page. The students that meet with us, ask questions, it goes very smoothly for them. The ones that are like, Mom, I've got it. I can do this. I don't need to talk with them. I know what I'm doing. I talk to my friends. Usually doesn't go very well. So please have them talk to us, encourage them to talk to us. We want to talk to them and help them out on any way that they need with CCP. It's sometimes, most times can be their first time kind of going out, working with a college instructor. So it's going to be different than high school. One of the biggest things is they find out is there aren't as many grades. They don't have all those homework grades to help improve their overall grade. It's maybe a project and a few exams, and that's it. And they're a little shocked by that. So, and the time commitment is the other one. They don't think they have to put in as much time as they really do. So students will put in, a couple hours a week, and they soon realize that that's not enough. So that's why the online classes especially become very tricky, and we'll talk about that a little more later as well. Once they're in CCP, we're going to ask them to meet with us again in December for their spring classes. Actually, students are starting to meet with us now in November as Tri-C and Akron have opened up their scheduling for the spring semester, and we're working with students to do credit checks. That's one of the things we want to do when we meet. What classes do you need to graduate? My primary motive is to make sure that the students graduate high school. That's my primary objective. The Tri-C class, the Akron classes, the CCP stuff is kind of icing on the cake, but I want to make sure you get a high school diploma. So we got to look at that and make sure we're all on the same page with that. So we'll meet with them again in December. So one of the questions is always like, what are these terms I've never heard of? Synchronous, asynchronous, and be honest with you, before COVID, I hadn't either. So that was a term that colleges started using to how their classes are being delivered and when they meet. So a synchronous class is a class that's going to meet at a specific time and date. So just so you know, there are no CCP classes at Highland High School. We don't have any in the building at all. So all these are going to be outside the building, online, actually in a classroom somewhere else, but none of those are going to be Mr. Durney. Welcome. You're doing all right. Hadn't seen Mr. Durney in a while there. So those synchronous classes are going to have a specific time to meet. Unfortunately, those are usually ones where students have to communicate back and forth, and we just don't have a space to be able to supervise and have students do that. So they're going to need to do that outside of Highland School Building. Asynchronous classes are kind of the online anytime classes. Those are fine here. They have a study hall, ALL. They can jump on their Chromebook, their laptop, and study hall, wherever, and they can work on those. Not a problem at all. We don't mind that one bit, but we just can't have students actually communicate with someone. Like I said, we just don't have the resources or the space to do that. And those online anytime classes, those have usually a limited availability. And those are the ones that we've seen students don't do as well. And it's usually because they're not putting enough time into it. They go to class, 50 minutes, 3 times a week, and they don't spend a whole lot of time other than that. And the general rule of thumb has always been, 3 hours for every hour you're in school. So they have a 3 credit hour class, which means they meet 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or hour and a half for Tuesday and Thursday. They would need to spend about 9 hours outside of school. And students just, we notice we're not doing that. And they get behind, they get buried, and it's really difficult to climb out of that. So there's a lot of time involved in these classes. If it's studying for tests, if it's reading ahead, students are going to do more reading and writing in these classes than they probably have in most of their classes up to this point. So for some of those, it's a little bit of an eye opener. It's a good place to do it, though. So we typically say right now is the time to do that. It's a time to stumble. It's a time to get that first B or C. I know that all the parents are like, oh my gosh, but actually that's okay. Colleges don't mind seeing that as long as they see that people have learned from it and they grew from it. So don't be too scared about having them stumble a little bit and then figure things out. It actually, in the long run, ends up being kind of a good thing. Mature content form is something that came out a few years ago. You might have heard what happened over there at Hudson. This form was in the works before that, so this isn't the Hudson Clause, as some people have kind of nicknamed it. But parents and students need to know that these are college classes meant for college-age students, so the content is going to sometimes, for discussion, have things that maybe they just haven't had as much exposure to. For the most part, it's going to be, they're not trying to tell them one thing's right or the other thing's wrong. It's just they want to be able to present different viewpoints and discuss it and debate it and stuff like that. So understand that that's going to happen. They might be in classes with adults much older than them. Especially if they're on campus, they might just be in a general class that could have any age in there. So that form is going to be signed actually twice. Once for the universities, you turn it into them. And Highland's policy has been, you turn it in again for us, and we keep a copy of that as well. It's just a way where the school board administration said, we got to make sure that everybody's on the same page with this. So if you have to turn that in twice, you really do. It's not a mistake. That's just an intention to try to make sure we all know what we're doing. So that paperwork that you have in your hand, we have this QR code here. This is going to be posted on our website. So if you have friends, family members, people that couldn't make it tonight, they can kind of hit that QR code. You will need, it is coming off a Google Drive, the PDF is, so you need a Google Drive to get that. All our students have Google Drives. That's their email. Even though it says at hlnd.org, it's a Google Drive, it's a Google email. And we have printed packets here and also quite a few in the office. So if anybody needs them, your student can pick those up, or you can come up pick one up in the main office if you need it. So I think everybody got it. Good. So some of our frequently asked questions, we threw this up here last year. One of the big ones is, should I do CCP or AP? And the simple answer is that they're both good in a lot of different cases. So what we've seen is students are going to Akron, Kent, Bowling Green, Toledo, kind of most of the state schools in Ohio. There's really not a whole lot you can say bad with CCP. It's going to be accepted. It's going to transfer. They have transfer modules. There are state laws that say they have to accept it. The trick is how it applies. So that's always one of the things too. They might accept it, but how do they apply it in the program you're going into? So I've seen students who graduate with 24 credits and really only 12 applied to their program when they transferred and went into college. So it takes some planning ahead. If students know what they want to do, they can look at that and start picking the classes off one by one once they get the core classes in. But we certainly don't expect students at 14, 15, 16-year-olds to know what they want to do for the next 40 years. I'm getting ready to retire in a few years, and I still don't know what I want to do with my life yet. So that's fine. So I think sometimes we do our students a little disservice by, at 6, 7 years old saying, what do you want to do when you grow up? They're like, I haven't experienced life yet. I have no idea. And that's good. We want them to experience life and figure out what they want to do. Believe me, I know it's easier. You're like, yeah, I know it's easy for you, Mr. Anderson. You're not one writing the checks for all that. I get it. And you're right. But we want them to get it right and be in a career they want to be in. So back to the original question. With schools like Case Western, Worcester, Ohio State, they really prefer the AP and honors courses. They really don't like to admit to the college. Ohio State has to accept them if they're accepting the student, but we've seen students that are having CCP not get into Ohio State. We've seen other students that have very similar resumes that have more AP and honors, and they do get in. Ohio State won't admit that in any public forum at all, but we've seen it with our own eyes year after year. So I just have to kind of give you that warning. Other schools, John Carroll, Mount Union, like I said, all the state schools other than Ohio State, you're fine. They look at it the same. So it really depends on where you want to go and how those classes are going to be applied. AP, since it's nationally normed, the same AP psychology test is given on that day all over the United States. So if someone gets a 4 on that AP test in Washington or Maine or Texas or wherever, it's the same all over the whole U.S. If someone gets an A in a CCP class at Akron, over there at Oregon State, they might look at that and go, I don't really know a whole lot about Akron. I'm not sure what that really meant. So just have to kind of do your homework on it. So we don't, like I said, I've seen students do CCP and do very well, and I've seen students do AP and do very well. The AP languages pull a lot of credit, especially like at Ohio State. They're very friendly with that. Students are getting 14, 16 college credits for getting a 5 on a AP language test. So, but then I see students that get 24 credits from Tri-C and transfer to Akron and do very well with that too. So really just depends on the student. Do I have to schedule class at the high school? Yes. So believe it or not, we are already behind the scenes getting scheduling ready for the 24-25 school year. We have to get our program of studies to our school board to get approved here in December. So we're working on that pretty feverishly here lately. And then we'll start working with students in January and February to have them schedule classes here. So you're still going to schedule a full course load here. And then we're going to meet in August before you start your classes, and then we'll clean everything up. So if you decide to take English Comp 1 at Akron or Tri-C, we'll take your English class out here. If you take a psychology class and you're a sophomore and you weren't going to take psychology here anyway, then we don't take out any of your classes. So it really just kind of depends on English Comp 1 and 2, Social and Psych, Government Econ. Those are kind of the 6 very basic classes that are accepted kind of universally at most schools. That's what we see our students taking. So which classes should I choose? We see that, again, I want you to graduate from Highland first. So we're going to make sure you're getting high school graduation requirements. So if we can pick off those classes with those CCP courses, that's ideal. That's usually how it happens. Then the more general education courses at the college. And then finally, if you can be looking at what's in your specific major, that really helps. Do I need to meet with the high school counselor? Yes, quite a few times. We want them to meet with us in the spring before it starts, have us talk in August before the school year starts, clean up your schedule. Again, in December, we meet, talk about your spring schedule. And then for Tri-C, we need to send in an authorization to attend. So we need to meet, and I need to know what class you want to take so I can send that in accurately. Because I'll get it fired back to me that I had the S number wrong or something like that. And I'm just like, oh. But so we want to make sure we meet and get all that stuff turned in for you so you can schedule there properly. What grade is best? Again, it's going to depend on the student, but I can tell you the vast majority of students, not only at Highland, but in Ohio, are juniors and seniors. There are very few middle school students, very few freshmen, sophomore students, quite a few more junior seniors. It tends to fit into their schedules better. They tend to be it just flows better. Their schedules tend to open up. They tend to have their health, their phys ed, their fine art, their world language, a lot of those requirements that are needed for Highland out of the way, and their schedules kind of opens up a little more their junior, senior year for these college classes. So for many reasons, it kind of just, I think, organically ends up being junior, senior. So next step, we want them to meet with us and to not miss any of those deadlines. And that's why that front paper, that checklist is for you. And it's really pretty important to follow that right down the line as we have there. School links. This is going to be kind of brief here, but just to give you a general idea. And again, we can help your student through this as well. Every student has access to school links. Not only is it for college applications and requesting teacher recs and stuff like that for seniors, there's a lot of college and career exploration tools in there, interest inventories. When parents say, when do you meet with the student? And they kind of find out what they want to do when they're, this is it. This is where they do that. They can do these interest inventories. I like this, I dislike it, I'm indifferent, that sort of thing. They answer those questions. It gives them some careers to look at. It connects to other resources on job outlooks. The trades are just like blowing up as far as need in the trades. And people are in very few years making like a lot of money. So if you like to work with your hands and be around people and be out and about, there's some good things going on out there, but this is where you can do all that. So anyway, you're going to go to school links through Clever. You're going to go to the colleges tab there on the right. You're going to click on college applications. It's going to take you to this screen. You're going to go up to the top right. You're going to say add application. You're going to type in the school here. It's going to pop down to here. For whatever reason, mine keeps defaulting. Then once I go to click on it, it'll go back to like Albion College, to the first college. Then I have to go back and take it out and then go back and try to put in Akron. So watch that you're actually clicking the right school. Akron, we just use an example. You're going to say add this application. Another screen is going to pop up. You're going to say that you're going to, and this is where our seniors, we work with them. You're not going to use the Common App. And most of our seniors do, but not all of them need to. You're going to say you want the school-specific online application. So that's when you apply to Tri-C or Akron. You're going to do that through their website, though, and they can talk about that here in a moment. You're going to choose the earliest deadline and then save, and that pops up on my screen to let me know to send their transcript in. For Akron, we'll also send the signature page along with this. We'll scan it and send it in. And then Tri-C, like we said, we got to meet with your student to see what classes they're going to take so we can send in that authorization to attend. So that is my part. Like I said, we're going to have Akron speak and then Tri-C at the end, and then hopefully all your questions will be answered. So thanks for coming tonight.
Okay. Can I point this way and that way? Okay. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Jenny Austin. So the first slide that I have is just looking at the different delivery methods that we have for our classes. So students here at Highland most likely are looking at, as Mr. Addington had talked about, online options, or we do have a few students, some students, they go to the Medina Center, the MCUC, or we even have, students can come to campus as well. The online courses, when they're asynchronous, that means there's not a specific meeting time. There's just the weekly deadlines. And just to piggyback on kind of what he was saying, what we've seen with students is it's easy to get lost. So they really need to be able to stay organized and know when the deadlines are and keep up with that. They may be in classes that maybe they don't have any of their friends in or other classmates from Highland in, so they can't ask them. And then our online classes, they are going to follow, all of our classes are going to follow our calendar, which is different than probably the Highland High School calendar. So usually spring breaks don't match up. So if you have a student that is planning to go somewhere on the spring break and it's, they have an assignment due or a test that they're supposed to take, they are supposed to turn that assignment in or take that test and meet those deadlines. So they may have to bring their Chromebook or their laptop or something with them on vacation to be able to keep up with the class. Our requirements at Akron to be admitted as a CCP student. So we are looking at a 3.0 cumulative GPA that is unweighted on the high school side. Or if your student has taken the ACT or SAT, we will look at those scores as well, but they are not required for admission. So they have to have what is considered one remediation free score on the ACT or SAT. So for an example, an ACT English of 18, an ACT reading of 22, or an ACT math of 22. We'll use those as well. So remediation free means that they meet the score from the ACT or the SAT that would place them into a college ready class. So like an English composition one, not a basic writing or a college reading and study skills class. So it would have to be a class that is considered college ready. If they have a 2.75 cumulative high school GPA, they still can be evaluated by the Office of Admissions to determine, and then we can kind of go from there. So Greg Landis is usually our person in admissions that handles all the CCP applications. If you grabbed the handouts on the table in the front, his contact information is on there. So really, like I said, we're looking at GPAs. So if you're sitting at a 2.75 or even close, and you really want to participate in CCP, I would say still go ahead, apply, and kind of see what happens. We may be able to, if you're really close and then you bring that up, we can evaluate with high school transcripts later on down the line too. So you can still try to apply. If your student is in 7th or 8th grade and they do not have any transcripted high school credit or high school GPA, then we must have ACT and SAT scores for them. We do have, like I said, if you're in high school, we don't necessarily need you to take the ACT or SAT, but if you want to take an English class or a math class, you do need to do our placement testing to place for those classes. So that's usually done either before the orientation, or some students, since they're coming up to campus over the summer for orientation, try to do it that same day, if that works, or they may have to come just like a week before, so before their orientation gets scheduled in the summer. Okay, so then our application process, we have an application on our website. Our CCP website is www.uakron.edu/CCP. That's the best way to get to all things CCP on the University of Akron website. If you go to just uakron.edu, students would see right now, since it's kind of application season, about applying now, but they need to make sure that they're not applying as anything other than the College Credit Plus student. So College Credit Plus application usually is down at the bottom. And then submit their high school transcripts through school links, and then complete our signature page and our permission slip. They have updated our application system, I guess I would say. So now when students log in, create their account, fill out the application, they have an application portal. So it's easier for students to see if they're thinking, okay, now I applied and I went on school links and had my high school transcript sent, but I still haven't heard anything from Akron. So I don't know what's going on. As we all know, technology is not always perfect. So Mr. Eddington can probably understand this, that he submitted a high school transcript on behalf of that student, but Akron didn't get it. Where did it go? We don't know. So you can see that in your portal. It may say, still need to submit high school transcript. So at that point, we can kind of double check, kindly ask Mr. Addington or one of the counselors to send it again. And then we can get it. So you can kind of track all of that on the application portal, which is nice. And you just use the same login to get right back in there. So I think that is always nice that we have that now. And then, like I said, our signature page, and then our permission slip, which is the mature content. And then the signature page needs student signature, parent or guardian signatures, and your counselor signature. If you're submitting ACT or SAT scores, we would like to see that. Do Highland have that on the high school transcript? Or would they? Okay, so you would. Yeah, so you would go to the College Board website or the ACT login, or if the day you take those tests, they ask you what schools you want it submitted. It's always a good idea to try to pick those schools on that day, because I think there's a charge if you go into the ACT website and ask ACT to send them to us, like $15, 19, yeah. So if you're taking it in the next few months, please make sure to pick the University of Akron if you're thinking about applying to us for CCP. We do accept students every semester, but for purposes for today, we have our summer and fall application deadline. So we need everything by April 15th. And then I think on one of the next slides. Okay, here's the dates. Yes. So we have the national ACT dates. So our last, we can take scores from the test date April 13th. So your student can test December 8th, which the registration deadline for that one is tomorrow, FYI, or February 10th, and then April 13th is the last one. We do have a residual ACT at the University of Akron. So if your student misses the national ACT dates, needs to take the ACT, we do have a residual ACT. It is only good at the University of Akron. So it would only, if your student isn't going to come to Akron once they graduate high school, it would only help them for admissions for CCP. They couldn't use our residual ACT to try to get into any other university. And then that's done at our testing center. And then the national SAT dates are there as well. And then so typically in junior year, the state of Ohio pays for all juniors to take the ACT, and that's usually February, I think is when it has become. So we can look at the date or the ACTs that are taken here at Highland High School. Okay, then once you get through all the application pieces and submit everything that needs to be submitted, and then you finally find out that you're admitted, then you have to go on and confirm. So all of this is emailed to you, to the student, with directions on how to do this on our website. So you have to confirm and say, yes, I am going to accept my acceptance to be a CCP student at the University of Akron. And then that will trigger an orientation date. Those start in the summer, usually beginning of June. It's just one day. They have to come up to campus. They are required to come to campus. They cannot schedule classes without attending an orientation. So they do have to come to an orientation up on campus. During the orientation, we'll go over a lot of the different policies, some of the information we cover, like under CCP meetings as well, talk about course options, placement. They will meet with an advisor at the University of Akron that will help them figure all of these things out. Textbooks, do they need a placement test? Do they not? How can I log into my Akron account? What's the number for the help desk if I can't? So and then there's a lot of like breakout sessions as well. It has a lot of information for parent and guardians, for students. So that would be over the summer. If the date that is sent to your student does not work, you can contact the new student orientation office. Say you have a vacation the week that the orientation is planned. Try to let us know, or let our orientation office know as soon as you can, because classes, especially for the fall semester, fill up fast, because we actually start registering students in April. So we want you to be able to get with the classes that you'd like to take. Okay, so I mentioned the calendar differences. So if most of the students are taking online classes, you just really need to watch out for those weekly deadlines. And if it's something where you're going to be out of town or not have Wi-Fi access, if you're in that situation and you sign up for a class, my strong advice is to contact your professor and let them know that, to see. Sometimes they can be a little flexible, but if it's the week before and you're like, oh, hey, I'm not going to be able to take the exam next week, that's not going to come off very good. You want to do that from the first week. So if you're in an online class, I always tell students the first thing you do is you go to the Brightspace page, which is the platform that we use. It's our online platform, and print off the syllabus. See what the professor's policies are. Make sure that, I might say they don't allow makeup tests unless you have a medical emergency or something like that. So please let them know if something isn't matching up with dates that you'll have access to Wi-Fi. So attendance, even if it's online, you're going to have to log on. If it's an asynchronous class, there's not the specific time, so you can log on whenever is convenient for you. If you have a study hall, or if after school you have practice or you work, and then at 8 o'clock, that's your best time to do your homework. Whatever works for you. But you have to be participating, even if it's not physical attendance. You're building a University of Akron transcript as well, so that's really huge. It's not just going on your high school transcript. It is also, you are building a University of Akron, a college transcript. So if you're in junior year and then you don't do so well, and then senior year, you're applying to all the different universities to trying to get in, they can see what you've done on the CCP side, through the University of Akron too. So just really keep that in mind. Students can also get placed on our academic probation, which is anything below 2.0 GPA on the college side. So they also can be held to our academic policies, procedures, and rules. Professors, usually we only have final grades, right? So those can be accessed through my Akron. Sometimes the professors, not all of them, on the Brightspace pages, there's a grades tab. Some of them are better than others at putting in all the different grades, so you can kind of track that and see where you're at. What else? So textbooks, if you have a physical textbook for a class, there's no cost to you, right? So with CCP, textbooks are included, but they get returned to Highland at the end of the semester. They are not yours to keep. So remember that as well. We do, at week 5 and at week 10, professors can submit students that have what we consider unsatisfactory progress for any reason, if it's attendance, missing assignments, low test scores. And then our director of CCP gets those and submits those over to our high school counselors, so then they can speak with the students. So we have an idea of where students are at week 5 and week 10, in addition to the final grade. Okay, students do have access to our tutoring services. We have e-tutoring. We have a new tutoring website It's all information we can cover more at the orientation, but our students do have access to that. And if they would be at one of the campuses and there's tutoring available there, they are also able, as a CCP student, to take advantage of that. Okay, if you have a student that has accommodation, on an IEP, there is a process that you can register and see accommodations on the college side are a little bit different and more limited than on the high school side. But we do have families that go through and apply through the Office of Accessibility to see if there's any specific services they can get in their college classes. So if, once your student gets through the CCP process, if you have more questions about that, you can let us know. And then I am not typically the Highland High School advisor, but we work as a team, so I'm always willing to meet with students from any high school. But you will eventually meet Chelsea, who is our advisor that works with Highland High School. Okay, and then here, Greg Landis so we have the Gregs. We have Greg Landis, Office of Admissions, and then Greg Deeringer is our Director of College Credit Plus. So if you didn't grab the two handouts on the table, we have the checklist with all the important dates, the websites, all that good information. And then the other one is what are some of the typical courses CCP students take. Their contact information, those are on the College Credit Plus checklist as well. So grab that on your way out. And then I can stick around and answer questions after the presentation as well. So thank you.
I'll go ahead and introduce Damien there. I'd like to thank Jenny there for that information. Really good information. And another part too is my phone was blowing up. I realized I didn't have the right sharing access on that file. So now I do. So you should be able to get to those papers, those forms. Anybody that has the link should be able to access that now. So Damien will be able to tell you more about Tri-C.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. How you doing tonight? Good? So I got tagged in. I'm not the CCP expert, and I'm going to have their information if you want to talk to them. So before coming here, I asked my son, he's 15. And I said, hey, I'm heading this presentation. I need a good, funny opener to keep their attention, some dry material. I go, how's this joke sound? So I told him the joke. He looks at me, puts his earbuds in, walked upstairs. So that was his reaction. So I'm not going to tell you the joke because that was obviously not good. So this is College Credit Plus with Tri-C. We have campuses everywhere, but the closest ones for you are at Brunswick on 303, and we have one in Parma at it's not really often access, but you can shoot down Ridge Road and get there very easily, about 30 minutes. So why choose CCP at Tri-C? We have locations everywhere. We're throughout the whole Cuyahoga County and then now in Medina. We have different formats. We talked about it. We have in-person, we have online, and we have hybrid for those that want to do a little bit of online and in-person. We also have class time options. We offer morning, afternoon, evening, weekends. We just started offering Sunday classes. So if that fits in your schedule, we have that. Our counseling department, you heard it mentioned earlier, we have to get authorization to attend. Our counseling set up a little bit different. They're not just academic advisors, but what they do is they work with the student to personally help you in your academic journey. So they are personal counselors. So they handle the academic side and mental wellness and try to really encompass wellness wraparound services. So that way your student can start to discuss what they want to take, what they want to get into. If depending upon when you get started with CCP, you can actually have an associate's degree before you graduate high school. I was helping a student today. In May, she will graduate with her Associate of Science and Associate of Arts with 60 transferable credits to University of Cincinnati, and she'll graduate high school in June. And our counselors and our coordinators, the CCP coordinators, will work with you every step of the way. We work with a lot of students. We handle currently about 1,500 CCP students that come to the Western and Brunswick campuses. We also have services, like Akron said, if you need accommodations on an IEP or a 504 plan, we have an office that will help you set up testing accommodations, classroom accommodations. If you need software for reading, if you also need information to have the test read to you, longer testing time, that can all be made. But we will tell you that when we're setting this up and after you apply, and I'll talk about applying, but after you apply to Tri-C, as a student, you are a college student. So we have to abide by the Federal Education Privacy Act. What that means is we can't talk to mom and dad, uncle, cousin, friend, anybody without the permission of the student. So when you become enrolled, talk to the student, work with each other to discuss getting on the federal, the FERPA plan, so that way we can talk to all parties involved. All right, we said this a little earlier. This is college level work, and depending upon what you get into, some of the health classes, some of the psychology classes, there can be mature content, which we want to make sure that you're aware of that. We sign off on that. That can happen online, in person, and this is mature content because the average age of our students college-wide is 26 years old. At the Western and Brunswick campuses, they tend to are a little bit younger, but we are dealing with mature content. All right, so getting started. Our preferred deadline is April 15th, but abide by this deadline. We'll make things early and get it done as soon as possible. I will tell you, I'm a person that goes, hey, if you wait till the last minute, it only takes a minute. But in this case, with CCP and all the moving parts, especially with Tri-C and these in Akron, we have to go through a lot of paperwork and processes to get that done. So you would complete the online Tri-C CCP application and mature content permission slip. I have the instructions how to do that. Go ahead and fill that application online. It is free. It also gives you practice of filling out a college application if you're deciding to go somewhere else. So go ahead and do that. And then also, once you get that done, the earlier you get that done, when you submit your transcript, ACT, SAT score, we can get that processed for you. And depending upon your GPA, grade level, it's a whole matrix. I feel like it's walking into a maze and they tell you to go to the guy in a yellow poncho and then you get in. But the Tri-C placement test might be required if you don't have the GPA or the class or the requirements to get in. And our placement test, we use a couple different ones, and we will work with you to set that up. All right, so when you get registered, you receive a decision letter and a registration instructions via email. Tri-C uses email. So when you're filling out your application, if you decide to come with us, make sure you use a Gmail and the school email, something that you'll have access to afterwards. Also, we do use texting. We are real people. It's not a bot. We do answer back with that, but the primary communication for the college is our email. Go ahead and submit that mature content questionnaire, and then you're going to meet with your school guidance counselor to discuss the courses that you want to take, so you can make sure that you're applying to your high school graduation and also getting that good college credit so you don't have to pay for those classes later. And then you'll meet with our Tri-C counselor, who I was talking about earlier, to choose the courses that will fulfill your degree requirements and the high school requirements. So they can also start to talk a plan about, hey, if I'm going to Bowling Green, what classes can I take to go there that accommodate high school, and make sure all those are met up. And then they'll get you in touch with Bowling Green eventually, or Akron, or wherever you may want to go, to work with our transfer experts to make sure this all aligns. And then the fun stuff is registering for courses. You pick your times, you pick your dates. The counselor sends you a link, you work with your family, and you decide if you want to do it in person. If you want to do it online, that is yours. And then we have a College Credit Plus orientation. We offer it online because we all have things going on, but we also offer it in person. So it's your choice to choose which one you would like to go to. So after you get done with CCP, the cool part is you're automatically accepted as a Tri-C student. It just happens. You don't have to apply again or do anything else. We have honors and scholars programs that you will qualify for because of the immediate transfer. And then we also have our student abroad, student clubs, on-campus engagement activities, much like Akron. You know, we want to get you involved because students that are involved typically have better persistence and graduate. All right. So this is where it gets a little the communication and it gets a little complicated, but you know, we do follow the Ohio Transfer 36. So what that means is if you complete the 9 credits in communication, the 3 in math, 9, and so on, you will have the certificate of the Ohio Transfer, and those are accepted by all the state schools. An Associate of Arts online class is 60 credit hours, and that can be completed through the CCP program as well. I have the information of all the campuses, and I try to take away anything that was probably going to be said. But I will tell you, if you do decide to do an online course, either here at Tri-C, Akron, or anywhere, make sure that if it's asynchronous, which means you do it when you want, that means you can do it at 10 a.m. Or if you're like me, a night owl, it's 1 a.m. You can get in there and do that. But I did some long-term studies, and I found that if you log in 3 times a week for a half hour and do an online course, you're about 55% likely to be successful. You add one more day to that, one more half hour and log in, you have an 80% chance of getting a B or higher in online courses just by doing that extra day. So just put it on your calendar, keep it like you're doing it like clockwork, and you'll be good to go. I'm going to be up here with questions to answer anything you have, get you in contact with our CCP experts, and then that way, if you're interested, I can have them reach out and we can walk you through the process. But thank you. I was trying to make sure I didn't cover up too much double, and I did it.
That was awesome. Thank you very much. And we kept it to about an hour, I think. So I think we did well there. Any like general questions, or if it's better to just have your students come and see us individually, that is fine too.